Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Captain Kablooey's Reactor. It's a new channel on YouTube. This is my first ever video I'm ever doing, and I decided that since it's had so much hype and it's just come out in the past couple days, I'm going to do my first series on Pillars of Eternity. Now, if you don't know what Pillars of Eternity is, it is the new Obsidian game. The people that created such classics as Baldur's Gate 2, Icewind Dale. I think they did Fallout New Vegas. They did all kinds of great games, and this is their new IP that they kickstarted a couple of years ago that has finally came out. And so let's get right in it and get into a new game with some character creation. Now here we have several options for starting out. Got everything from easy, normal, hard, like everything else, and then Path of the Damned. That is like the oh my god, what the hell just, fucking skewered my heart type of difficulty. It's really quite difficult, so we're going to play on normal. There's also an expert mode, which disables all the tooltips and other helper functions. It's a very handy thing if you're not very new to the genre or to Obsidian's games in general, but we're going to leave it on for this playthrough. And then there's the Trial of Iron. Now this turns it into a little more of a roguelike. If you die, you're dead. Any character dies, they can't be rezzed. If your main character dies, it automatically deletes the save game. So that is some fun times right there. We may try a playthrough of that later on. So let's go with normal, leave expert and Trial of Iron off, and accept, and let's get straight into character creation. I seem to have forgotten that we got the introduction before we start character creation. That's okay. As soon as it loads up, we'll go through that real quick and then get my character kitted out.
5 wagons grope blindly for the path on a starless night, their master glancing ever upward to the skies for assurance that he is on the right course. A dim lantern his only protection against the encroaching darkness. But the skies bring no comfort, shining no light, betraying no hint of what they know. The caravan carries travelers bound for the frontier hamlet of Gilded Vale, you among them, where a local lord has offered land and wealth to settlers from abroad looking for a fresh start. You have taken suddenly ill, sweating and shivering, and one of the other travelers signals for the caravan master to stop on your behalf. He pulls up just in time to avoid plowing into the trunk of a fallen tree that bars the way ahead. You will go no further tonight.
Okay. A little bit of backstory. Setting up the plot some. Let's get into it, guys. Alright, and this is the character creation screen. Of course, it's like just about any game where you can create your character. You got male and female. I typically like to play females. I don't know about you, but if I'm having to look at a character's ass all game, I'd rather look at a female's ass, even if it is, just CGI and stuff. So let's go with that. Now here are all the races. You got your typical humans, and by the way, all these races have sub-races, peoples that are specific to certain lands and stuff. They have slightly different stats, look different and everything. You got general human, who's all around good at everything. We got Almwawa. I don't know how to say that word. Almawa. Let's go with that. Almala. That sounds good. They have +2 might. They are pretty good warriors. As you can see, they're bigger than your typical human is, so they seem to make good warriors. They'd also be good for an offensive spellcaster, because might in this game affects all of your damage. It doesn't matter if it's spell-based, ranged, or strength. Next up, we got the dwarves, who, unfortunately, the females do not have beards like they typically do. As you can see, they are +2 might, -1 dexterity, but +1 to constitution, so they're a little bit hardier, but not quite as sneaky. And of course, they hit like a Mack truck. Next up, we have the elves, who are a little bit sneakier and a little more dexterous. And they also have +1 to perception, so they're able to perception in this game. It contributes to deflection and reflex saves, but it also helps with your dialogue. It'll open up different comments and stuff like that, and they'll also notice things in the background. It helps them to see traps and stuff like that. We got the Orlan, who are kind of the halflings. They're like halfling elves, as you can see from the ears. They are +1 resolve, which is kind of like your wheel from a typical D&D game. -1 to might, so they don't hit quite as hard, but they are very, very perceptive. And then you have the most interesting race in this game, the godlike. These are the demi-humans. They're like they're blessed by the gods, or cursed, as it says in here, with special powers and everything. They also look really, really cool. They all come with +1 dexterity and +1 intellect, so they make really good spellcasters, and they can also be pretty good for rogues and stuff. I'm thinking this playthrough, I am going to go with well, let's just go into humans and look at all the classes real quick. Here's the sub-races of humans. We're just going to skip through this real quick, because we're going to come back and change our race anyway. You've got all these different classes. You got the barbarians, the typical, berserk warrior from most D&D and other RPGs. We got a cipher, who ciphers are very interesting. As it says in here, they can directly target their allies and enemies with soul-focused effects. They are kind of like a psychic warrior. They're constantly attacking, and they use these kind of psychic powers that they build up while attacking to attack or to help out as needed. Typical fighter, sword and board, nothing really special. They're constantly regenerating endurance, which endurance is different than your health. Endurance is your fight health. In each individual fight, you've got so much endurance, whereas Constitution leads to your overall health. So you can have, say, 5 or 6 endurance for each fight, and you can lose all of that and still have 50-75% of your overall health. So you'll just be knocked out after that fight. It won't kill you straight up, which is very, very interesting. I've never really seen anything do that. I kind of like that idea. Sorry, guys. Next up, we got the Paladin, your typical holy warrior. Well, no, I won't quite say typical. Pallies and priests in this game, their abilities are all based on their reputation. Each different subtype of Paladin or priest, they have a certain reputation that the god prefers for them to have, and if they get away from that reputation, then they start losing power, whereas the more like that reputation they are, the more powerful they get. It's really interesting. It's a good little take, and for paladins specifically, I think it works out well. That kind of goes really well hand in hand with the paladins from D&D. I mean, they didn't necessarily have ideas like that in D&D, but I mean, well, they did to a degree. If you went away from the tenets of your god. A lot of times in D&D, the dungeon master would, have you, kind of off-put from your god so that you lost some power. So I like that. Next up we have a ranger. It's your typical, bow-wielding, occasional double weapon warrior, sneaking around. They're scouting out everything for you. In this game they have an animal companion, which from what I have been told, because I haven't played one of these yet, the animal companion is not very good at dealing damage, but generally they are pretty tanky, so that comes in handy for the segments of the game where you're by yourself. The wizard, your normal mage, throwing out, magic missiles, which has a different name in this game, and all that, fireballs and stuff at everybody, healing up, or, well, not healing up, but buffing up your party. Very, 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 very easy to die, because they have, like, no hit points. They have no armor, all that good stuff. We have a chanter. Chanters are another unique, interesting class. They are semi-warrior that is kind of crossed with a bard, because they do these chants while they're attacking. They do. I think how it's set up at first is there's 2 lines of chant. They'll chant one for 4 seconds, and then the next line for the other 4 seconds, and each line gives different abilities to you and your party, or different detriments to the enemies. They're really, really quite cool, but they have to keep attacking while they're doing it. So, as you can see, they don't have very good health or anything, but they're pretty accurate, and they have a lot of deflection, so they're very good at not getting hit. Druids, shapeshifters, though they don't turn quite into the exact shape. It's more like a werewolf, they turn into, they're more of a lycanthrope almost, it's like a were version of whatever animal they're gifted with. And they also have spells, of course. The monk is who I'm thinking about playing, because I really love monks in D&D. Always one of my favorite classes. Up there with the rogue. I love playing rogues and rangers. But monk, as far as the fighters, are probably my favorite. As you can see, they have very, very high endurance and health, have very high accuracy and deflection, so they don't get hit. When they do, they can take a beating. Of course, they don't have weapons. They'll be using their fists and, various skills. And truthfully, in this game, I'm not sure how they are in armor, but if it's like D&D, they won't be wearing a lot of armor, so they have to be able to deflect stuff a lot. The priests, like I was saying with the paladins, you have to be stronger, you have to be more towards the reputation that your god favors. They also cast all your healing spells, but unlike priests in D&D, they're not very good frontline warriors at all. These guys, they can't take a beating in any way, so they'll go down pretty quickly. So you really have to put them back line with your wizards and everything, keep them away from the hand-to-hand combat. So I don't like it. I do like priests, but I like a priest that can take a little bit of a beating while, dealing out healing spells to his comrades. And then we have the rogue. Everybody's favorite. All stealth and lock-picking and, just about, everything you expect out of a rogue is in this game. The biggest difference I see is the sneak attack. Instead of having to surprise someone, and get that initiative to do a sneak attack, they can do a sneak attack anytime an opponent is blinded, flanked, hobbled, paralyzed, petrified, prone, stuck, stunned, or weakened. So pretty much anytime one of your enemies has any kind of, badness about them, anything done to them, they're going to be doing this extra damage, and that's actually pretty sweet. Makes them a really big DPS machine. Let's see. I think we're going to play a monk. Yeah, I think we're going to play a monk. Let's go back here. I think I want to play... If I'm going to be playing a monk, I think I'll play a godlike monk. This is going to be interesting. We got the death godlike, fire godlike, the moon godlike, and the nature godlike. I really like the moon because during each encounter, whenever they're reduced below 75, 50, and 25% endurance, each one of those marks, they generate a wave of healing moonlight that restores endurance to them and their allies, so it keeps the fight going longer if need be. I'm thinking I may do that. A moon monk. What kind of body type? I forgot about this. You can do different body types. Moon godlike. Ooh. I don't want to go with human. I want to go with something a little bit different. I'm thinking I may go with a dwarf. And monk. Okay, we get one starting ability. We can get either Swift Strikes, which requires one wound, which is what monks generate while they're fighting. They generate wounds and then they can spend them on these special attacks. Times 1.25 attack speed for 10 seconds. I'm sorry. Or Torment's Reach, which also requires a wound, has an area effect of 2 meters with a 135 degree cone, and it is a -2 might for 20 seconds versus reflex, and full attack plus 50 damage as crush. That could be interesting. I think we're going to go with Torment's Reach. Okay, stats. As you see, there's some gold and silver stars over here by the left of each stat. Gold stars means the stat is pretty highly important for whatever class you're in. The silver stars means they're still kind of important, but not as much, you know. And then you've got your other ones, which don't matter as much, which is kind of true to a degree. Like, intellect actually matters for everything that can do any kind of spell or skill, because like that Torment's Reach has a cone effect. The higher my intellect, the bigger that cone effect's going to be. It's also going to last longer, so that's pretty cool right there. But let's start out with the main stuff. We need high constitution and high dexterity. I definitely want to go with a good dexterity. I'm thinking about a 17. I want a lot of might, so I'll deal some good damage with a 15, and then constitution, bump that up some. We'll have to play around with this some. Let's go with might. Yeah, and I want to get I think that will add a little bit. I think I'm going to do the perception because that adds interrupt, some more deflection in my reflex save. I think that could work out nicely. So let's roll with this for now. Alright, the culture. There's several different cultures in Pillars of Eternity. It's the different regions they come from. We got Ader. It's currently the largest, most powerful force, so this is your big empire. It adds resolve +1 to the person. The Deadfire Archipelago is kind of like a pirate state, you know. Also home to the Boreal Dwarves, which is very interesting. Forest Dwarves, I've never heard of that, but hey, you know, what the fuck ever, dude. I ain't gonna argue. Interesting concept. It gives you +1 to your dexterity. The Ixomitl Plains. Savannas, they're extensively farmed by humans and Orlans. It's one of the oldest in the world. This is kind of your Italian or Greek city-states, almost. It gives you resolve +1. Old Valia. Oh no, I'm sorry. This is like the Italian or Greek city-states. It adds +1 to your intellect. Rauatai. +1 to my constitution. Home to a lot of dwarves. Orlan, Amawa. Countries are relatively young, but they have advanced colonial settlements in the east. It's a gulf. Living lands, might +1. Unpredictable weather. And the white that wins, perception +1. That looks like a uncivilized place. And as you can see, each place will change the starting gear just a little bit. Kind of like the Ixelmetal Plains, resolve +1. That'll bring my resolve up to 12. Ooh. Nothing does perception, does it? You can get a little bit more might or intellect, either one. I think I'm gonna go with the Ixelmetal Plains. I like Ixelmetal. It's a nice word. So we'll go with that. Plus I like the clothing for that. Next. Okay, the background changes your skills. Got Aristocrat with Lore +2, Drifter, Stealth +1, Survival +1, Laborer, Athletics and Mechanics both +1, Merchant, Lore and Mechanics +1, Scholar, Lore +2, a Dissident, Stealth and Lore +1, Hunter, Stealth and Survival +1, Mercenary, Athletics and Lore +1, and Philosopher, Lore +2. Lore is very helpful. It helps you identify stuff. It also opens up a lot of dialogue options. Mechanics is also pretty good because that's your lock picking and stuff. Athletics is very useful for anybody. That'll help with all of your checks and everything, doing jumps, your dodges and stuff like that. What am I leaving out? Oh, stealth, of course, very important to your rogues and your rangers. Survival is the only thing I've never really used a whole lot in. Since it's helpful in conversations, scripted interactions. Oh, it also helps with better food and potion items that you find, better use of them. I am thinking I want to go with something with lore. Maybe not lore +2, but something with a little bit of lore. Let's go with a mercenary. Lore and athletics. That sounds good. Okay, the appearance. You can change your colors. I am a fan of red. I'm also a fan of black, so we're going to go with red and black for our colors. We can change our head. Each of the Godlake has 3 or 4 different heads that can be drastically different, as you can see. I'm kind of liking that one. That's kind of weird looking. Yeah, I think that's the one I'm going to go with. Next. And now for the portrait selection. Don't know if there's a good one for Moon Godlike. That one's not too bad. I think I could go with that. As if her head was covered up with the eyes. It seems to match pretty well. I think we'll go with that. Okay. And now for the voice.
Oh? I shall lead us. Let us end this!
Not sure
Quickly and
like it.
quietly. Yeah, I've got this.
Kinda do like the
After
feisty.
Let's keep quiet.
No.
Now I am leader of the group. A blade in the dark.
I don't think my monk's going to be
What is it?
sinister, so
Follow me. Let's
I
go.
think we're going to go with feisty. And enter name. Let's go with I need a good dwarven female name. You don't hear a whole lot of those. So we're going to go with Galara? No. Galara. Galara. Ooh. Galara or Striker? Galara or Striker. Yeah, I think that's going to work for us. Galara or Striker. And it looks like we are done. And let's get it going. Alright. So here's the beginning. I think there's a little bit of talking. caravan master finishes addressing the group, his bushy red mustache and sagging jowls quivering as if for emphasis.
Everybody stays close to the wagons, got it? Stay out of the woods, and beasts take you if you were planning a stroll through those ruins up there.
He nods towards a looming black mass on the hillside.
Whole area's crawling with hut-dwelling types who'd be happy to stick an axe in you for trespassing. So mind that you don't track mud on their sacred blazing rocks. Tonight, everybody stays put, and in the morning we'll get the path cleared. Gilded Vale's less than a day out. Understood?
At last, the caravan master turns to you, frowning as he looks you over.
Touch of the rumbling rot, could be. There's a stinging beetle round here, carries it. You'll be fine once it passes your innards. Unless you don't drink water, course. Which case you'll be dead in a day. There's a berry grows in these parts, small and pink, called a springberry. About the size of a fingernail. Give you cramps if you eat it, but the frontiersmen make a tea from it. Calms the insides. Should get you through the night. You might check around, see if you can find some. Meanwhile, I'll see if we can scare you up some water.
I don't know about you guys, but I feel very comfortable listening to this guy. He's got a good old boy, kind of a little bit of country accent. Comes from my neck of the woods. I know you guys don't know this, but I live in Kentucky, so, kind of striking home with me. I think I really like this caravan master, Odama.
I know you want to hunt before it gets much darker, but see about refilling our water first. Got a sick one here.
He nods in your direction. Sparfle nods and slides the worn bow over his shoulder. Is it dangerous out there?
Not if you hurry about your business. And not if the weather holds up.
There is concern in his tone, but he does not elaborate. What are those ruins?
Nothing you won't see on half the hills of Air Glonfoth. Money to be made selling their knickknacks in Defiance Bay, if you don't mind getting stuck with Glonfoth and arrows now and again. They didn't build them, but I'll be the effigy if they don't watch them like a mother bear. Of course, all the ones around here have been ransacked 10 times over. Got nothing left worth half a pawn, so I hear.
Who did build those ruins?
Got different names for them. Settlers called them Ingwithans. Nobody that liked them enough to stop them becoming ruins, tell you that much.
How about them big old huge rocks? What are they?
They don't got Adra where you come from? Well, it just grows up out of the ground like this. Goes deep like tree roots. Some of it all the way to the heart of the world, you believe the stories. It's more like a shell than a proper rock. Easier to work if you're a mason. Got all kinds of strange properties. Seems to have some kind of life of its own. Dies if it gets dug up. Loses its luster. Folks think it probably grew at one point or another, but not these days. The soul butchers in Defiance Bay use it for different things. I've heard tell it can hold a man's soul, but I don't care to see it. Got enough to worry about without seeing something like that.
What kind of weather do they get out here?
This time of year? Rain mostly, and wind. But there's a different kind of wind out here time to time. Locals call it a beawick. Born out of the ether, the spirit's path. Never seen it myself, never care to.
Alright then, since I picked at your brain for a little while, how about them berries? Where could I find
They
them?
grow on a bush that's common round here, kind of funny looking. You'll know it when you see it. Doubt you'd have to go far off the road to find one.
Alright, I think I'll go try to find some of them berries then.
Hold on. Take someone with you. I know you're not some helpless tenderfoot, not like most of this lot. But you drop dead, I don't want to be looking for the body. Got a schedule to keep.
He scans over the travelers, resting his eyes at length on a sturdy, armor-clad woman who has spent the journey's nights sleeping on uneven ground without blanket or pillow.
Kalisha. Kalisha!
The woman looks up on her own time. She needs to find some springberries. Watch that she doesn't drop dead.
No promises.
What kind of guide says something like that?
Kind you can afford.
Don't listen to her, you're in good hands. And I pay too well, if anything. Off with you. Hayadin should have supplies. See that you're equipped before you head out. We're in harsh country. Get your berries and hurry back. And if you get so much as a tickle of wind, you drop everything and you run. Something in the air tonight. If it's a beawick, We'll shelter in the ruins. Hut dwellers be damned.
You heard the man. Let's get going before you keel over.
And there we go. Our game has started, and I think this will be a good place to cut off the first episode. So I thank you guys for coming and joining me. Wow, that's a lot of friggin' tips. I thank you guys for coming and joining me. Hope to see you again soon. And you guys take her easy. And if she ain't easy, don't take her.